when I was 9 and I was playing that speedball game with the tipman twice my size, it was actually at a camp. It was like a summer camp kind of event, and they just had paintball as like this sort of bonus activity that you could go for. And I said, fuck it, why not? I'm going to do it.
Yeah, right?
And then it like wormed its way into my head as this cool, like extreme sport that for what, like there was nowhere in my area that I could do it, but it stuck in my head and I sought out where to get better. And that led me down the track that I'm currently on.
Yeah.
But as far as getting people involved with the sport from the very first time, what do you think is the most important thing for someone to experience when they're first doing the sport?
The very first time playing the sport, probably playing with people of an equal skill set or skill level. Because I find that when people play people who have their own gear and they're looking all fat, they're intimidated. And they go into, and their mindset right away is like, oh, this is not going to be good. Right? But if they go into people who are the same rentals, same, everything looking as they are, they're like, okay, they're new like me. They don't know, too much. I'm going to go out there and have fun. That's one thing I found in paintball, that we really try to kind of create that first initial experience where there's not much pressure. With the young kids too, you don't want the people getting too close, right? So you try to distance and keep people away so they're not getting shot so close and so painful, because you get one good shot in the right spot and you're gonna remember it, like we all do.
Oh, I remember my first time.
Right? Yeah, right. So yeah, you get shot in the right spot, you're gonna remember it, right? And if you're a beginner and you're new to the sport and that happens, you're done. It's gonna take a pretty strong personality, character type, to come back out and oh yeah, I'm gonna keep it going. And that's what I find in paintball too, is there's a lot of strong personalities, or it just takes a different type of person, I find, to be a paintballer, if that makes any sense. You're not
no,
quite,
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, you're not quite on you're super sport. You're very sporty, but you're also kind of techie in a sense, right? It's different, because in paintball you want to be almost smaller, right? But in all other sports you want to be bigger. So it's kind of a spot for people who are naturally built smaller to excel in, basically, I found. And for that,
well, as a man that's 6'3", I take that quite personally.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm a snake player for our team,
Yeah.
and I can obviously see that help for someone that needs to be shorter. Weird thing that I've actually noticed is that they're if we're talking about body frame, ideal body frame for playing paintball, I have seen people overtly valuing the beanstalk bod, right? Where it's kind of skinny, not a whole lot of meat to them, smaller frame so they can get down. I've seen people actively say, damn, I wish I had, XYZ dude's body. And you look at him and he's like a skeleton. He's 4 foot tall, but he's roasting everyone because no one can shoot him. And it's like,
paintball. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Paintball is its own thing when it comes to that, right? I wish there was bigger bunkers. Let's be honest here. Pins, little cakes, even the snake beams nowadays. They used to be a lot bigger. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember everyone I talked to about this fabled bunker called The Wall. I just think about it, and I'm like, you know what? As a tall guy, as a lanky dude, I would be playing that all day, but nope. I'm on my belly.
No, The Wall was a little much. Yeah, I think I remember you talked to somebody in that podcast about moving it, because as a single field, I have to move that damn bunker by myself. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was my beef with it, was I would hate to be a guy who, the dude who owns the actual inflatable, because then you have to deal with it.
Yeah, you got to go suck it up, put it back in the sea can. Oh my It's heavy. It's very heavy. Like even those
God, that's
big,
so funny.
the big bricks nowadays are still, are almost too big. But I like them big. So as I was saying, if someone's important listening, these are spewing out little tidbits here.
just more paintball players complaining about more things.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But you were saying that the biggest thing that you can help a new person who's playing paintball is effectively give them an experience where they feel like they have a fighting chance of success.
Yeah, that's their first kind of step, right? Because if they don't get that, then they don't have anything to like they don't have a base to grow off if they don't have that kind of thing, right? Like if they go get out their first 3 games, but the games are even, they'll still feel like they have that chance. But if they go out versus people who have their own gear, or just even players who just in general are more skilled than them without like some sort of guy, then they're going to be like, oh, I'm not so good at this. Maybe it's like my thing, right? But yeah, paintball, bringing those kids in is always important. Birthday parties. I found that different sports teams, they bring lots of like hockey wind-ups and such like that, right? They come in and bring good groups. There's great. There's another idea for paintball that's off the top of my head. There's reffing in paintball. It's quite the hard thing to get down, right? There's always the talk of bias and all that. I've always laughed and I've always said, why don't we just go take like another sports team of some sort, like a hockey team, and tell them this is your fundraiser. You're going to go ref paintball. Maybe the first couple events won't be so good, but they might get it down and actually be able to have some unbiased reffing for once. That'd be nice.
We can only hope.
Yeah, right?
I'll tell you what, learning how to ref and being a good ref, that holy shit helps so much in paintball, because you're not just a ref, you're kind of a babysitter. And I say that in the most loving and nicest way possible. I don't mean that is like a demeaning thing for anybody, but at the same time, paintball, when you're facilitating it, it's kind of a management sort of deal where you have to you're managing kids with guns. That's and you're letting them go nuts on each other, and you have to be there to make sure that like all the rules and order and everything that needs to be in place to frame this thing as a fun time, that's on you. And to do that is good, because then you're learning how to facilitate that and why that's important in the first place.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like, yeah, right. And it's always a continuous like learning thing too, right? Like I was never the best host at first, right? Like of course I wasn't. Even today, I'm probably still lacking on certain things that I could obviously improve upon, right? And I wish to improve upon. But that's kind of like why we do it, right? Like,
because we love it, and we just like we'll get better doing it. If we suck, right? Fine, but we'll learn.
Like, yeah, you gotta learn kind of thing, right? So like even as like when you bring up again like field hosting stuff, I'm always like, oh yeah, field hosting. I'm a player, but I also run a field, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, right. So like it's really kind of like I'm always doing a balancing act of getting everyone going for the day and then trying to get a few points in for myself, right? So it's kind of just the way it kind of is.
Well, what would be paintball like? Why would you do what you're doing if you couldn't play paintball?
Oh, well, yeah, right? Like, if I couldn't play paintball, I don't think that would be an option for me. Like, I'd be totally the guy to get one of those electric wheelchairs or something if my legs are gone. Be like, yeah, get me out. I want to keep being involved. Like, even if I could, like, it's going to happen. I will get to a point where I will not be able to play anymore. Like, that's just life, right? Like, snake players, wear your knee pads. My knees are shot. I was a snake player. Yeah. Yeah, I always thought like now as I'm older, I'm like, yeah, no, should have definitely done that. But yeah, it's gonna get to a point where I can't play, right? So you try to cherish, as you play, you try to cherish kind of like you can't like I'm 30, I'm in my 30s now, so like I feel it. I could feel, it's not like I was in my 20s or in my late teens where, frick, you're unstoppable. Like,
where
right?
every time I see Instagram and I see some kid who's just like, the new 15, 16-year-old kid that just joined whatever pro team, I kind of think back, it's like, well, it's because he's made of rubber. He can. It's like the rest of us out here are made of bones and flesh and muscles and shit, but this kid is actually bulletproof.
Yeah, right. So that's why you got to try to cherish as you can play and perform and compete at a high level still. Be thankful that you can do that, because like you're just saying, I get to take one car accident and I can't do that anymore. I'd still be very involved in paintball because I love it, but you can, everything can change in just one moment. So, but I would always be involved, be it coaching, running the field, hell, even promoting. If I had to be on the computer, I'd be the guy doing computer stuff. If I had to. Not my thing. Yeah, but I would be the guy helping, right? I'd be trying to grow the game. And that's what you do, and that's kind of what I do, and that's what I hope all the listeners to these podcasts are trying to do as well in their own way, right? Don't just go out and be because when you're in paintball, you're part of the community, right? You're part of paintball. It's so weird. It was such a when you first started paintball, trying to find, people to talk paintball to, and where do the forums, and well, what do you mean I got to go here and this and that, right? It was such an adventure because it was so underground kind of, right? Mm-hmm. It kind of also had its appeal to it.
You had to sort of seek it out. It wasn't something that was just pushed and available to people. You had to just sort of fall into it or find out about it.
Yeah, exactly, right? It was, and it still has that lore to it to this day. It's like I said, it's its own kind of thing, right? It's when people get into paintball, they really get into paintball, right? It's a big.
Tragedy is coming, you better prepare for the worst case scenario. Turn on the radio.